Okay, this is a friend's generator. He offered to give it to me. But I wanted to work on this and see if I could make it better. It's got some problems. It is a cheap piece of crap generator. You can get it for $200 at Home Depot, and it's pretty much a piece of crap. But I wanted to see if I could make it better. I tried tuning it the other day, and I was able to make an improvement, but I wasn't able to make it right. And what it does is it sits there and hunts. It cycles, rah, 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 which of course makes your load or your voltage level fluctuate. So let me go over some things here. This is the carburetor here. This is the run set screw here, okay? And this is what's called a governor. So ideally what you would do is you would set this set screw here to whatever RPM you wanted the generator to run at. You would set it by using a voltmeter. And then you would set the spring tension on this governor appropriately so that when you plug a load in, what this does is it's got a, I can't remember if it's like a paddle in the crankcase, but so you plug a load in and it speeds up the generator. But what happens on this is it just keeps bouncing back and forth. So let's see, let me go over some things. This is the carburetor bowl, and that's where the fuel comes into. And there's a float in there. It's got an air fuel mixture screw. Let's see if you can hold on. Right there. That controls how much fuel and air going into the burn. For example, if you have it set too lean, not enough gas, it'll get hot. The engine will get hot. If you have it too rich, it won't run as well. Another problem I found with this generator is that there's no return on the gas tank. So what happens is after you run, and there's no vent on the gas cap, so after it runs a while, what happens is a vacuum builds up in the gas tank and it won't let fuel come out. So that's an issue. What I intend to do is drill a small hole in this cap, and then I'm going to put like an air filter on top to keep crud out of there, and that'll vent it. Let's see, as far as electronics go, it looks to me like, or what I observed is that the voltage level is controlled solely by engine RPM. Now you can see all sorts of crud all over this. My friend actually left it in a mud puddle, and I gave him a bunch of crap about it. So he eventually went out there and took it out of the mud puddle. You can see dirt, or I can see dirt up in the generator housing, or up in the generator components. So we'll see what I run across here. We'll see what we can do. Sorry, I wanted to go over some things. So what I had to test this is I have a power strip that I'm going to plug in. I have my digital voltmeter that I'm going to plug in there so I can monitor voltage. And then for a load, I have a 1500 watt space heater, which is a really good load to check out your generator. Normally I'd like to put this on a concrete platform or something, but I put it in the grass because I want all the fumes to blow away. I don't want them getting all over my clothes. So we'll see what we find. Okay, I'm about to take the spark plug out to look at that, but before I did that, I took all this stuff off to try to get to the spark plug. I want to show you some things. For those of you that don't know, This is the intake valve for the 4-stroke engine. This is the exhaust. Looks to me like it's got push rods. Some of them don't. Oh, that's interesting. That valve's loose. I might actually tighten that up. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the head to cool so I can take this spark plug out and check it, I'll probably just replace it. Decided I am going to go ahead and tighten these tappet valves up. The valve's here, and if you can see that, that's the valve spring, and that makes it so the valve retracts when it's not being pressed. Now on a old small block V8, you would tighten these are called rocker arms. Rocker arms, valve springs, the valve stems are in there, push rods are here. So on an old small block V8, I used to work on small block V8s a lot, you would tighten these rocker arms just until they were tight. So I'm going to do that here. Now, I'm not used to seeing rocker arms that are loose like that, and I decided to go ahead and tighten these after listening to the video I just ran. It's really noisy. Now the risk is that if they didn't manufacture that cam and the piston right, when I tighten these, what it's going to do when I tighten these is going to make the valves push down in there further, the intake and exhaust valves, which will allow more air and fuel into the cylinder and more exhaust out. But the risk is if they didn't manufacture that cam right and I tighten these and these are supposed to be loose, the valves could strike the piston, which would bust the engine. But I'm going to go ahead and tighten them while I'm waiting. Now the reason you don't want to take this spark plug out when this head is hot is because aluminum expands greatly when it's hot, and if this head is hot when you go to take this spark plug out, you'll strip the threads that are inside of the aluminum cylinder head. So I'll be back with you guys in a couple minutes. Okay, let me show you how I'm going to loosen the top retaining nut so that I can tighten it. So I put a 14mm wrench on the bottom, and I turn the top one with a 10mm. So I've got this loose. So I'm going to wind this down finger tight until it's finger tight. Then I'm going to put my 14 back on that main nut, and I'm going to tighten down this retaining nut. And it's that simple. And see that's much tighter. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to put this valve cover back on. I'm going to take that spark plug out and see what it looks like, or go to the store and replace it. And then I'll start it back up when I get back, and we'll see if it's better. Okay, here's the spark plug out of there, and it actually doesn't look that bad. I thought I was going to find burnt electrodes, or a burnt electrode, but I don't see that. Now if this was a 2-stroke engine, there would be a pretty good chance that plug was fouled. It looks okay though. I'm probably going to replace it anyway, but it actually looks like it was getting too hot, which would indicate too lean of air-fuel mixture, which is indicative of a tank that has a vacuum on it. I can check that by hooking up the spark plug and putting this on the case and seeing what it looks like. I might do that. Actually, I probably will do that before I go up to the store, but I'll probably just replace it. I don't know who makes the spark plug. I'm sure it's made in China. It doesn't look bad, but it may be bad, so I'll be back with you guys. Okay, let's see if you can see that. It's really not sparking very well. I should see a lot more than that. So there is something wrong with that spark plug, so I'm going to go ahead and replace it. Okay, so let's see if I changed the spark plug. Let's see if we can see a difference. Maybe, maybe not. Not really. Either way, it's going in there. See if I can see that. Not really. Oh well. Okay, so I put the new spark plug in. I've tightened the valves. I don't expect the valves to make any difference, but the spark plug possibly, even though it didn't look any better. So I'm going to set this air-fuel mixture screw to 2.5. So 1, 2.5, and that's what they tell you to set it to from the manual. Now if this doesn't work, after I put this back together, if it doesn't run better and I can't get it set, I think the next step will be to take the carburetor off and look in there. Now we already took it off the other day and blew out all the jets I could find, but if this doesn't work, it's the only thing I can think of to try. And after that, I'm out of ideas. It might just be a bad design, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I did find something. There's these 3 holes in the governor armature to, looks like, set the sensitivity. And one problem, I think, with the governor is that it's too sensitive. So I'm going to move the spring to here, and hopefully that'll make it. Because what happens is it responds too violently, and then it bogs the engine down. So I'm going to try to move that there, and maybe that'll make a slight difference. You know what, guys? When I tighten up these valves, I messed up the valve timing. I'll see if you can listen here. Listen for a popping noise. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? I gotta loosen this back up. Okay, now I know there's a setting for this, but I don't have a manual, so I just made them loose like they were before, and hopefully that's enough. As far as I'm concerned, that's a bunch of crap. There's always, when you have solid valves, there's always a setting you need to set them to. Those are awfully loose, and that makes it really noisy, and it's inefficient. It'd be much better if the cam was just manufactured properly. It'd be a much quieter design. So we'll see if we can get it started again. Okay, let's try starting it again. If it won't start now, if I continue to hear the popping, I can try to loosen up those tablet valves a little bit more. If I can't get it running after that, I'll have to go out and find out what I'm supposed to set them to. You use something called a feeler gauge. You put it in between the rocker arm and the tappet valve. And then if I have to do that, I'll show you how to do that. But it should start up. We'll see. Listen carefully. See, I'm on. Fuel's on. Looks like I got it. Let's see what kind of voltage we're putting on. You know what I discovered, guys? I'm still not getting fuel out of there. Let me show you. I've got plenty of fuel in the tank. I think I've got dirt or crud in there. Look at that. Watch. I turn it on. Nothing. I should have fuel coming out of there. I think that's probably one of the main problems. So we'll see if I can fix it. Maybe there's crud in there. Okay guys, something I just discovered was that there can still be almost half a tank of fuel in here, and this nipple sticks up high enough, this nipple sticks up high enough where it won't sump it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the tank up like this, and I had these old pucks that I had from a snowmobile clutch. I'm going to bolt these down as they are, and then I'm going to stick these under so the tank's at a slight angle. Now, a lot of times they do stuff similar to that so that if you get water in the fuel, it just sits in the bottom of the tank, it doesn't get sucked in. But this thing's not going, it's not lasting a very long time, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to jack it up and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, let me show you what I did. Now the generator's not really sitting on level ground, but that's not really the issue here. And the reason I know that is because according to the specs, this generator is supposed to run 9 hours on a half load. Well, it was only running 2, so that's way far away. So what I did is I put those pucks here, and see it's kind of jacked up on one end. These are bolted down as normal. Now, I'm going to have to get some bolts for these, but I just I had some in the shed, so I'm going to use these in the meantime. I'm going to put a little more fuel in there, and we're going to start it up and see if we can tune this guy. But I'd say that was one issue. This was definitely an issue, because, and I knew that because when we went over to work on it, originally at his house, I had this line off, and when I opened it, it went So it told me it was under a vacuum and it pulled all this air in here. So I'm gonna put a little more fuel in there, hook this line back up. We'll start it up and we'll see how it's running now. You know what I'm thinking, guys? I'm thinking if we have something from here to here to dampen this governor out, it might not do that because it overreacts and then it bogs and overreacts. So I used to have a nice carburetor spring. I couldn't find that, so I found these, and I'm going to try to attach them from here to here to dampen that governor arm out. So we'll see how that works. Okay, guys, that actually made a huge difference. Adding the spring here really dampened that out so it doesn't overreact. I'll start it up and show you. I can put it up. I can put this heater up to, I don't know what's low, 750 watts, 1500 watts, and I don't get that cycling anymore. So I'll show you here. I'll start it up and I'll show you what it looks like.